Hey now, it's Sharon, and I'm back to share another idea on how to better the police. If you're new to the channel, I'm a retired detective. I worked for 20 years for a southeastern city in the US, and I was also in the military. I'm sharing my experiences, my perspective, my opinion on how to better the police. And with that being said, last week I mentioned uh, believing in something higher than yourself. If you're coming into policing or if you're the career officer, uh, you have to believe in something higher than yourself. The something, you have to put faith into it. And the something has to acknowledge other people, the bettering of other people, putting yourself aside for the betterment of other people. Why did we get into policing anyway? So I mentioned those things last week, and I talked about myself, and I talked about the thinker, chooser, me, Sharon, who's speaking to you now. Is it the same thing that other people get out on the street when I'm policing? Is it the same thing my family gets? And at one time, no, because the carnal Sharon, the thinker, chooser, feeler, did as she pleased, uh, said what she felt she needed to say, regardless of whose feelings got hurt. And that was the carnal Sharon, if you will. I was not influenced by anything higher than myself. I was influenced by my opinion, my excessive pride, which was an idol, basically. You know, I had to do this and I had to get this many hours of training to be a better cop, a better police officer. And those things are good, but when it becomes obsessive to the point where you think your training makes you big and bad, and you're above the law and you wear the badge and what you say goes, regardless of anything anybody can tell you, it makes you puff up with air, if you will, because it's just hot air when it boils down to it. You puff up with so much air that you don't even listen to the people that you're encountering. It's just generic. Yeah, hi. Yeah, I know more than you. That excessive pride is it's a killer, actually. But I'll save that for another video. But yeah, excessive pride. That Sharon people were getting. And then when I started to, excuse me, research my faith, build my faith in the finished works of Christ, and believing in something higher than myself. And you know, people say Christianity is not getting a good name right now. Christianity, my definition, is an individual relationship with God, with the Almighty, with Jesus Christ, with Yeshua. That individual, my relationship, I'm in a different space, so to speak, than other people. And my growing and my knowing comes from me studying and researching. So I don't compare myself to anybody else. And that's why I told you it's my experience, my opinion of things when I was policing. So with the new officer coming in, or the career officer, what I did was I started to evaluate myself. I talked about the retaliation and things like that I suffered at blowing the whistle twice. And the Holy Spirit basically blew the whistle at me and said, you need to check your heart. So I started checking my heart, and things that I found in it, I ain't want to find them, to really tell you the truth. I was just like, what? And then I started to discover things that I couldn't take into policing, but I took it. I told you, I trained with the bias. I came with the bias. I trained with the bias. I police with the bias. But now I don't do that anymore. I didn't. I stopped it. And one of the things that I did was unpacking things in my heart. And so they were getting a different Sharon, the carnal Sharon, the Sharon that put herself on the pedestal, and my opinion and my knowledge is what you're going to get, you know? So once I had stopped doing that and following the blueprint of Christ when he walked the earth, and started to put that into my mind by speaking and studying and reading and looking at different things, the carnal Sharon kind of took a back seat. And the spirit influenced Sharon started to step up and speak to people and see people. Because the carnal Sharon was just Sometimes she see through people, wouldn't even see them. How many of us do that? How many of us don't see people? And when I say see, I'll give an example. I used to ride up on the block when I was policing, and I'm looking at everybody, and I'm just trying to see who's doing what, who has their hand clenched and has that what they call the geek walk. And I'm focused in on that because wherever your eyes meet is where they drop the dope. I learned that, but I didn't see. We'll just call her Miss Johnson sitting on her porch watching everything. I didn't see Mr. Allen sweeping up his yard and singing a song to himself. I'm just concentrating on the individual that's got the geek walk with the hand closed, trying to get out of the area. But the spirit influenced Sharon started to take a broader view, if you will. And kids walking in the street now, they're just not a target to give a ticket to, adults walking in the street, give them a ticket because my sergeant is going to get upset at me. I started to have a broader view in sense of, well, he just drank a beer and now I got to go get him and give him a ticket or take him to jail because my sergeant's going to get on my back. Do you see what I'm saying? I had some discretion in not giving a ticket, in not giving that person a ticket for walking in the street because of the pressure put on me, putting my good aside and investing in the good of others. In that sense, I saw them. I started to see people more. And so the spiritual Sharon matched up with what and who I was dealing with and what I was speaking. So we have to ask ourselves, I tested myself. I tested myself while I was in the patrol car. What do I actually see when I drive through the neighborhood? And I'm looking and I'm pointing. And then when we had cell phones that could record, yes, I might have been a little behind. I would take my phone and just as I'm driving by, record. And then put it down. And then when I got a chance, go back, park somewhere when I'm just want to chill for a second. What did I see when I drove through? And it started to change. I started to see the roses behind the broken down fence that hadn't been painted in 2 or 3 years. I started to see the red rose. I started to see Ms. Johnson sitting on her doorstep and she's reading the Bible. I started to see the church that has been burnt out for years. I could see it turn into an apartment complex. People standing on the corner. I started to see their different hues of color. I didn't just see one blotch. I started to see how Mr. Allen was fixing up his house. The shutter that was broken is fixed. I don't know how long it's been fixed, but it's fixed now. I started to see those things. I started to see individuals living in an area trying to maintain. They wanted the same things I wanted, safety. I want to come out my house and feel safe. I want my house to look good. I started to see those things. But that's only because I took myself and that excessive pride, that idol, out of that high position and started to look at the blueprint, as I mentioned, when Christ walked the earth. So I would suggest that. That's the test. Riding around in your own personal car. What do you see when you leave the area? Ask yourself what you just saw. And if you need to go back and drive through, or whenever you drive through, do you notice anything different? Because one of the things in evaluating your own heart, you start to see others and you start to see a different image. I'll just leave it at that. But that's all I have for this week. Take a look at our online store. The link is in the description. I created notebooks and things like that, mugs, coffee mugs, water bottles, t-shirts, towels, all that stuff with our motto on it. And our motto is, I was about to say the other thing, but our motto is, it doesn't matter what the haters say. They can't convince Jesus. Think about that. It doesn't matter what anybody says. They can't convince Jesus, but you have to know what he says about you and what he thinks about you. And that's just going to take studying. But yeah, take a look at our online store. The link is in the description. And always remember, you don't necessarily have to go through a thing to learn from it. Talk to you guys later. Bye.